So here we go, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Oppo, the series where I get the lowdown on town's next opponent, which is Wycombe Wanderers at Portman Road on Good Friday, a packed Portman Road. I'm joined by James Richings, the man from Wycombe Wanderers, reporting for the Bucks Free Press. James, it's a pleasure as always. How's things?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you, Ross. Doing good. Hopefully everything's all right where you're into.
Yeah, it's all good, mate. As we said in the green room, 8 big cup finals to go, cliches, clactions everywhere. But first up, of course, for Wycombe and Town is each other on Good Friday. Let's recap, James. A lot's happened at Wycombe. Gareth Ainsworth's gone to QPR, and Matt Bloomfield, former captain, club legend, is now the manager. Let us know what's been going on.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy few months. After Wycombe's win against Bolton on February 18th, that was Wycombe's 5th win in a row. First time Wycombe had won 5 games in a row in League One. And then 72 hours later, Gareth Ainsworth and Richard Dobson weren't there anymore. And I don't think anyone could really comprehend what was going on, because we saw the QPR rumours start on the Sunday night, and I remember jokingly putting out a facetious tweet saying, "Oh, look, here we go again." Little did I know it was going to be true. And Matt Bloomfield's come in from Colchester, and you can really see what he's trying to do with his philosophy. He's openly admitted he doesn't want to change too many elements to the team, because Wycombe are in a good place. And I know we spoke about it in the green room, and now we don't want to be saying cliches, but they always say it's better to look outside than in this stage of the season, because it's better to gain than lose. So you can really see in the way that Bloomfield is putting his thoughts on what's going on at the moment. Wycombe are playing along the ground a lot more, and even though his record so far has been quite patchy, 2 wins, 3 draws and 3 defeats, one of the defeat that sticks out to me was the Barnsley defeat a couple of weeks ago, where Wycombe were the better side. Wycombe battered Barnsley, but when you're near the top, as what Barnsley are, you seem to grind out the results, and they got the winner in the last 10 minutes. So it hasn't been all doom and gloom, as the stats would show. Wycombe are under a new era, and we need to remember Gareth Ainsworth was there for 10 and a bit years, so things are going to be quite regimented. Things are going to be people are going to have this idea of what they think Wycombe are. Matt Bloomfield's come in. He's slowly but surely changing that. And this is a very exciting period for Wycombe, because change, whether people like it or not, it can bring new things in. And talk about it in the green room, Wycombe have confirmed that 4 players have signed contract extensions with club captain Joe Jacobson, Josh Scowen, who's a catalyst in the Wycombe midfield, and Jack Grimmer, who's been very good this season, and David Wheeler, who could potentially be the club's player of the season, have signed new contracts. So yeah, it's been a busy few months for us, I won't lie.
Yeah, it has. And, Matt Bloomfield has got a connection with Town, with him starting his career here. And, of course, he's, as I said, a Wycombe legend. Went off to Colchester, did a pretty decent job there. And, I'm sure he was one of the main candidates to get the job with his, connection with Wycombe. What is the current mood with fans then? Were they happy about Bloomfield's arrival and, just outside the playoffs just now, but still fighting for that final 6th place spot?
Very much so. When the news that Gareth Ainsworth was going to go, there were lots of talk about who was going to come in to replace him, and the Cowleys were on the list. I saw Michael Appleton's name on the list, but when it came out that Matt Bloomfield was one of the favourites, the whole fan base came together, because let's be real, every single fan base, you're going to get division. Pretty much everyone was behind the move, because it's not as if this person doesn't know what Wycombe is. His nickname is Mr. Wycombe. Played over 500 games, multiple promotions, and he knows the club inside and out. So if we wanted someone to replace Gareth Ainsworth, who'd been at the club collectively since 2009, so 13 and a bit years, having a man at the club who started his career at Wycombe in 2003 is the perfect fit. It's not like he doesn't know where he's going. It's not like he doesn't know where the training ground is. He knows the club like the back of his hand. So when it came out that Matt Bloomfield was going to be the new Wycombe manager, there was a real exciting vibe around Adams Park, and that was evident to see in the first game that he took charge of, which was away at Shrewsbury. Albeit Wycombe did lose the game 2-0. It was their first loss in 6. But I think it's important to remember that week was just turbulent for everyone at the club. Bloomfield even said that at the start of that week on the Monday morning, went into Colchester's training ground. His mind was thinking about Northampton on that Saturday in League Two. Before he knows that he's taking on a Shrewsbury side who at the time were also trying to get into the playoffs. So that week was a bit turbulent, but as time has gone on, we've seen Wycombe improve under him. He wants to play with the ball along the ground a lot more. He's giving players a lot of freedom on the wings. So it's an exciting time, and he's loved by everyone at the club. He did a lot for the club, both on and off the field. So when it came out that he was going to be Wycombe's new manager, everyone was really behind it.
Yeah, and you said it's been some patchy results. You know, he's got some wins under his belt, which I'm sure he was happy to get that done. I think it was the home game against Fleetwood after the defeat against Shrewsbury and the draw against Wycombe. So I'm sure he's happy to get that done. He got a good result at Bristol Rovers, who are doing pretty well under Joe Barton this season. And then he's had a few draws lately against Charlton and MK Dons the last time out. But let's talk, James, about the players. Because he will know some of these, probably be some of his former teammates when he was playing still. But let's bring us the last 11 against MK. And there's a few players that I know there. Of course, Hameti was the man who was the star player going into the game at Adams Park, but he's now at Bristol City. But talk about these players here. Anybody we should look out for. Hanlon, of course, the man who scored against us. Terrible defending from Town in that game, of course, back in December. But yeah, take it away, my friend.
Yes, so this Wycombe team is the same Wycombe team against MK. It was the same Wycombe team against Charlton as well, I believe. And as you already mentioned there, some notable differences to the side that last played. Ipswich are Hameti, who's gone to Bristol City, and of course Alfie Mawson. That was his last game before he announced his retirement in February with persistent knee injuries. But looking at the team now, the players to look out for would be TJ DeBar. He's a very exciting prospect. He's been with the club since 2021. He signed in the summer of that year, had a fantastic debut against Stevenage in the Cup, came on, scored a last-minute equaliser to take the League Cup tie to a penalty shootout. He then scores the winning penalty. And who do Wycombe get in the next round? Manchester City away. So he is a player to look out for. And it's funny because after that, he openly told us at the BFP that everything started to go downhill for him. He was getting injured. When he got fit, he wasn't being able to get into the team. And coincidentally, and ironically as well, when he had his very scary collapse at Plymouth at the back end of last year, that was the game that in a way reminded everyone of what he can do. And since his break, he's been back. I think he's been included in every single matchday squad since the end of January. He's popped up with a goal in that time as well, and he's a very exciting prospect. I reckon that's one for Ipswich to look out for. And I think it's important to mention as well, last week or the week before when we had the international break, he was called up to the Gibraltar squad, but he declined the invitation, which was the first time he'd ever done that in his career because he wanted to continue with his club career. So it was the hardest decision he's had to make so far. And he wants to really, really grasp a space in the first 11, and he's taken that. He really, really is. So he's one to look out for. Another player to look out for is Josh Scowen, probably been one of Wycombe's best players this season. Well, and last season as well when he rejoined the club from Sunderland. He is. I call him the N'Golo Kante of Wycombe because he's everywhere. Like, honestly, he covers every single blade of grass, and he just doesn't seem to tire out. He's had a few injury issues this season, but when he's fit, he's like a rash. He's going to be all over you. So he's one to look out for. Max Strejek, the goalkeeper, of course, some Ipswich fans may remember him with his celebrations back in December. He's been a revelation since coming into the club at the start of the season. Don't know if you're aware, but after David Stockdale left at the start of the campaign, Wycombe tried to get Nathan Bishop, and they did, on loan from Manchester United. But a few days before the season began, Manchester United pulled out of the deal. And he was actually at the training ground. I spoke to him, he had his shirt ready and everything, but Man United decided to not go through with it. Now Wycombe started the season with Tyler Dickinson, the reserve goalkeeper, and bless Tyler Dickinson, lovely guy, but you could tell he just wasn't really ready for EFL football, in my opinion. Made some very good saves when called upon, and after I think 4 or 5 games, Wycombe managed to sign Max Strejek from Livingston, and he's been fantastic. He really has been. He's strong, he's big, he's commanding. You could hear him scream at the defense in front of him. He's not shy, so he's one to look out for as well. And Chem Campbell on loan from Wolverhampton Wanderers. We all know he won't be here at the start of the season unless we can get him again on loan. He's very much one for the future, but you can really tell he's got a lot of talent. Once he gets the ball, it's very hard to get off him. Very leggy as well. He's quite tall, so that seems to help him. He's quite nimble as well, and he's popped up with a goal or two since joining Wycombe on loan from Wolves at the back end of the January transfer window. So, yeah, but it's a real, in my opinion, it's a very strong team, and this is without Sam Vokes as well, who's been missing for the last few weeks with injury. Gareth McCleary, one of Wycombe's most influential players, he's out too. And I think it's worth noting as well that Wycombe are just outside the playoffs, 2 points outside the playoffs, with one of the worst injury crises they've had for several years. We'll talk about it in the green room. David Wheeler's had his best goal scoring season for Wycombe this season with 6. At the start of the season, he was playing right wing back, and then a few weeks into the season, he was then playing up top. So it goes to show what the squad depth has been like at Wycombe, but the players have really managed to get through it, and with less than 10 games to go, and with 2 points off the playoffs, everything's to play for.
Yeah, definitely. And well, looking at that team, it looks, I wouldn't say inexperienced, but there's a few players who maybe, a bit younger, very different Wycombe side to what we're used to. But as you said, Matty Bloomfield's brought a little bit maybe on the floor football, but I'm sure he'll still have a lot of Gareth Ainsworth's traits because that was his manager. Has there been much change from that?
They try and see the game out as much as they can. I think in the 2 wins that he has had against Fleetwood and Bristol Rovers, both 2-0 wins, both in midweek, Wycombe just played them off the park, really. And that isn't to say that Fleetwood and Bristol Rovers didn't have chances, because they did, especially Bristol Rovers. They could have had 2 or 3 goals, but Wycombe just, in a way, did a number on them. They counter-attacked well. They really put pressure on the back line, and they managed to break down the pressure and get their rewards. And that could have happened against Barnsley as well a couple of weeks ago. It just wasn't to be. Barnsley could be finishing in the top 2 if things change, and they're on a fantastic run of form. So a 1-0 loss at home to them wasn't the end of the world, but the performance, we all left Adams Park thinking today is just a case of what could have been. Because I think the most important thing is that obviously the result is the most important thing, but it's how you get the result. And if Wycombe are playing badly, but then are not getting the results, then it's a case of, okay, why is that? Oh, well, they haven't got Sam Vokes, who's their talisman. They haven't got Gareth McCleary, who's one of their most influential wingers. They all play a part. Wycombe haven't had really Dominic Gape or Curtis Thompson. Curtis Thompson has pretty much been absent all season. To be fair to him, he suffered a very serious knee injury at the back end of in February last year. He came back in and around the Christmas period, and he's only played a handful of games. Dominic Gape was pretty much never present until October, but since then he's only played twice. So you've got 2 central midfielders there, 2 anchors who would have really made a difference, but they've been unavailable for selection. So it's not a case of Wycombe have been playing badly. They've played okay. It's just a case of trying to get those results. And what's helped Wycombe in a way as well is that Derby are also having a bad run of form. Wycombe at the start of Saturday were 3 points off the playoffs. They concede a relatively late equaliser to MK in the Bucks. Derby finishes 2-2. We then check the result, and we've seen that Ipswich have beaten Derby, and now the gap has been reduced to 2 points. So it's not a case of Wycombe haven't been playing badly, but they just need to take their chances. I think that's been the main thing as well. I remember there was a stat I looked at. I think Wycombe have had over 100 shots at goal since Matty Bloomfield's taken over, but I think they've only had less than 30% of those shots have been on target. So if Sam Vokes is fit, it could be different. That isn't to say that Handlin hasn't been doing well. That isn't to say DeBar hasn't been doing well. It's just the squad depth. So since Matt Bloomfield's come in, it's a real... I wouldn't say it's a period of unknown because it's very new to him as well, but we can see what he's trying to do. Play it along the ground. He's trying to get a lot of creative players involved. And I think once we can get a fully fit squad, then I think we could see a different Wycombe.
Okay, we shall wait and see. Well, James, how are you feeling then, my friend, going into this game, going to Portman Road, going to be a sold-out Portman Road. Of course, Wycombe have done one over town already this season at Adams Park, a frustrating afternoon for the Blue Army. But how are you feeling travelling down to Portman Road? Two sides, fighting, I hope to get a win. Wycombe trying to get into the top 6, while Town keeping that winning run going at the moment.
I'm very much looking forward to it. I really do. I love the Easter period because the games come thick and fast. And I know a lot of fans will be looking at it thinking, Ipswich on a great run of form. I think it's 8 clean sheets in a row, which is, that's Manchester City levels in a way, to be honest with you. It's great for them. But Wycombe are that team that seem to ruffle up a few feathers. Going into the season, Wycombe hadn't beaten Derby in their previous attempts, and Wycombe beat them 3-2 at home when nobody was really expecting that. Bolton as well. Bolton on a great run of form when they came to Adams Park, and Wycombe did a number on them too. So I'm looking forward to it. I am really looking forward to it. It's going to be, as you say, it's going to be a great atmosphere because Portman Road, I love Portman Road. It's one of the very few old-fashioned stadiums, I call it, and it's a wonderful, wonderful ground. And when it's loud, you can really feel it. So, I'm very much looking forward to it. And I hope, no offense to you, Ross, but I hope Wycombe can steal a 1-0 win in the last minute.
Oh, no. Town fans not be happy about that. Yeah, the record at the moment, 7 wins in a row, 8 clean sheets. They don't want it to be ended, of course, this Friday on Good Friday. Well, James, any other business from yourself? What's Wycombe's away record like? Do they play differently to home games?
Well, Wycombe's away record has been somewhat patchy, I would say. At the start of the season, it was very hit and miss, but it has improved in recent weeks because Wycombe have had some very good away performances. Most notably, there's at the back end of Gareth Ainsworth's reign, of course, but games that stick out in my mind were the likes of Accrington Stanley, very good 2-0 win there. I know Accrington are struggling at the moment, but that's a very good 2-0 away win. Peterborough, who are now in the playoffs, Wycombe beat them on New Year's Day 3-0. Lewis Wing got 2 fantastic goals, one of them being a free kick. But their away record has been a bit somewhat patchy. They've won 8 times, lost 8, drawn 3, scoring 23, conceding 19. So it's a bit patchy. But Wycombe are that side this season where nobody expects them to win. They've done it. For example, start of the season, Wycombe went to Barnsley. Wycombe had never won at Oakwell, ever. And then Wycombe go to Yorkshire and score 3 of the best goals I've ever seen in one game. Genuinely, every single goal was a scream. And that was the day where Dominic Gape scored a lob from about 50 yards, I think. So, yeah, honestly, that was our reaction in the press box. We couldn't believe it. So, Wycombe are that team where people go into the game thinking, I can't see them getting anything from this. And then, behold, they leave with 3 points. Everyone's like, how have they done that? So, I'm optimistic going into this game. I really, really am. Of course, Ipswich, we can't look beyond the fact that they are on this incredible run of form. They really, really are. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were to potentially sneak into the top 2 because it's that tight at the moment with Sheffield Wednesday having a bit of a sticky period. Anything's up for grabs. So I always want to remain optimistic. I really, really do. And there is nothing to suggest that Wycombe can't get a result there because, let's be real, yes, Ipswich are doing very well and momentum carries on, but it's a brand new game. Runs come to an end at some point, and sometimes it's when you least expect it. I mean, nobody was expecting Forest Green to beat Sheffield Wednesday a few weeks ago, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Anything can happen. I'm sure, Town fans will not be happy. They'll be like, oh, no, James, shush, shush, shush. But we shall wait and see. It's been a pleasure, as always, James. Thanks for joining me. Thanks, everyone, for watching and have a Meet the Oppo. If you go into the game, enjoy it. If you're not, follow the game with us. If you want a Wycombe's point of view, follow the game with James at the Bucks Freeze Press. Thanks again, James. Bye-bye for now.